Greetings gamers, ex-gamers and friends and family members of gamers. Well, we've reached day 10 and so far, aside from a little blip I had yesterday, I've felt nothing that could be described as withdrawal symptoms. I've been surrounded by triggers because my family all game, and there are adverts for video games all over the web pages I've been viewing and on TV, and yet there isn't even a hint of temptation. Actually, you might find this amusing. While researching gaming and internet addiction, I came across a web page about technology addiction promoting a video game. Yeah, it's actually there. It's like advertising free drinks at an AA meeting. Yes, I did report it, but reporting the inappropriate advert will only prevent similar adverts cropping up on this web page for me. For gaming addicts trying to find information about their addiction, the damage will already have been done. Some reprogramming of the algorithm is called for here. This might be what happens when you take human beings out of the equation, don't you think? Anyway, this brings me nicely to my topic for this video, which is remorse. After the binging session, when the high has worn off, the addict becomes acutely aware of the consequences of his or her actions. It could be as simple as a pounding headache, or the gas, electricity, phone being cut off, causing the addict to think of the money that was spent on the binge that could have been spent on essentials. For gamers, it's probably a realization of the time wasted that could have been spent more productively. Oh my god, the assignment's due in 1 hour and I spent the last week camping the time-lost proto-drake. What comes along with the realisation that the addict has messed up in a big way, which may involve hurting others or letting people down or betraying one's own moral codes, are feelings of shame and embarrassment which actively prevents the addict from seeking help. How can we ask the addict to make good decisions when it was a whole string of bad decisions that led the addict here in the first place? Friends or family members seeing the addict in this phase might think this is the best time to stick the boot in and pile on even more guilt and shame, since the self-loathing addict is already brimming over with regret, shame and humiliation, and therefore more likely to listen to and take to heart the scolding he or she justly deserves. But piling on more guilt and blame on the addict will not strengthen his or her resolve to quit. These actions do nothing to help the addict. Shaming the addict, who is already in the remorse phase, is not a form of tough love, but a form of cowardice. If you're going to have a tough heart-to-heart about how concerned you are about the addict's behaviour, it should be when the addict is filled with overconfidence in an attempt to bring him back to reality. Kicking the addict when he's down is the exact opposite of love. You're pushing in the same direction as the cycle of addiction, only strengthening the feelings of embarrassment, shame and humiliation, and intensifying the allure of escape from those negative emotions through relapse. It is tempting to feel that you have to encourage the addict to hit rock bottom so that he or she can seek help, because an addict can't be cured until he or she willingly asks for help. But this is a dangerous myth. In fact, many addicts never seek help and either die from the addiction or are rescued from their addiction when an external help is forced upon them, such as by a court-mandated rehabilitation. The addictive behaviour was originally an attempt to take control over negative feelings, but addiction itself is a loss of control. Breaking free of addiction will mean confronting those negative feelings, not running away from them. This may involve a lot of anger, crying, shouting, screaming. The emotions may be debilitating, but probably shouldn't be experienced alone, but they must be experienced. Nobody likes negative emotions, but we all have them, and unless we practice experiencing them, we'll never be able to deal with the ever-present disappointments and injustices in life. Chances are, one of the main reasons we are all so very messed up as a society is because our culture and/or our parents, teachers and peers have taught us to bottle our emotions. What's ironic is that when people say get a grip on yourself or get control over your emotions, what they are really selfishly saying is, I can't handle seeing your emotions, bottle them up so I don't have to see it. The irony is, when you were crying or shouting, you actually did have a grip on your emotions, and you were healthily working through them when others intervened and tried to peer pressure you into avoiding your feelings instead of experiencing them. When people gave us that bad advice, it's because they couldn't stand to see us cry or rage or rant, not because they were acting in our best interests. Perhaps one of the reasons devoutly religious people are less likely to fall into self-destructive patterns of behaviour is because they already have a safety valve for their feelings in the form of other members of their religious group to talk to and confide in, and some form of prayer or meditation schedule to give them time for self-reflection and working through their emotions. I'm not suggesting that you should develop or change your religious views, but you could look at the positives and try to incorporate some of those positives into your own personal philosophy. When religious people are constantly thanking some deity for what seems to you like trivial things and trying to naively look for a silver lining in every cloud, they're actually putting themselves in a positive frame of mind that allows them to emotionally cope with much of the garbage that life throws at them. If you see this as a crutch, well, so what if it is? Excessive gaming, alcohol, drugs, tobacco, overeating, cutting, gambling are all crutches, but nobody ever died from overdosing on prayer. When they're loudly praying in the park or walking down the street seemingly talking to themselves or locked in their room muttering under their breath, they're actually working through their feelings in a way that isn't self-destructive. Now, if talking to yourself isn't your thing, other forms of non-destructive coping mechanisms for unbearable emotions include picking up an art, whether it's drawing or painting or sculpting or writing or composing. This form of art shouldn't be confused with commercial art. You're not writing a book or song or painting a picture that you hope will one day be read by someone else or published. You're writing, drawing, painting or sculpting as a way of giving voice to your feelings. If by some chance you happen to produce a piece of art that makes you rich and famous, then take the win, but remember, you're not doing it for fame and fortune, you're doing it for the cathartic release of oppressive feelings. Giving voice and release to your negative emotions, though, is only the first step towards healing. You also need to sort through your feelings, classifying them as rational or irrational. Some feelings are irrational and need to be identified as such and let go of, which I'm fully aware is easier said than done. If you really can't let go of irrational feelings, now is the time to seek help from a trusted friend, counsellor or psychologist or psychiatrist. Or, if your feelings are rational, address the problems that are causing those feelings. If it is stress over deadlines, get the assignment done and out of the way. If you're not sure where to start or are stuck, ask for help. If it's those dirty dishes in the sink, get up and wash them. I know, easier said than done, but sometimes you have to just stop making excuses to yourself and just do it. If it is mounting debt, speak to a financial advisor and make the necessary life changes. Whatever the problem is that's causing your perfectly rational negative emotions, make it a priority to deal with those problems, and the negative feelings will melt away into a sense of euphoria that isn't artificial. Whatever the problems though, rational or irrational, if you can't handle them on your own, there is no shame in asking for help. If you have nobody else to turn to, there's always your family doctor, and there are numerous support groups online. Giving voice to your pain and addressing your problems and asking for and getting the right kind of help isn't a cure for addiction, but it is a key step on the road to recovery. If you feel you might have a problem with excessive gaming and are worried you might be developing an addiction, why not follow along and try out this simple test of going game-free for a month? Remember, it can be any month and you don't have to start on the 1st. Why not post a comment to let me know how you're doing, and don't forget to hit that subscribe button. But as for me, big fat hairy 9 days and counting non-gamer, I'll look forward to seeing you in another video.